Hi, fam. Hope you're doing well. I've been digging deep into evaluations, AI evaluations, and wanted to share some of my thoughts on how to do that at an enterprise. We're going to start with the deep research evaluation. So, what we're doing is for an enterprise, if an enterprise is building a deep research tool for their employees internally, and they're using multiple LLMs to build a hybrid deep research product for themselves. There's a rack, there's everything. What we're going to do is understand from an agentic approach how could an enterprise building this deep research resource or feature with multiple LLMs integrated, how can that agent help with evaluations? We're going to start with the context of current business objective of the enterprise. All of this information can either be um, taken from current execs or extracted from OKR models or V2 moms of the organization. So essentially, we start with what does the business want to improve the most right now? Do we want to improve customer satisfaction? Do we want to decrease operational costs? Or do we want to improve productization? What is the specific business objective? Because that is what the evaluation set should be aligned to evaluate on a continuous basis. So, we're going to start with that context of business objective for that enterprise. Then, given that objective, I'd like us to set up the agent to extract the user query and understand two things from that user query: the stakeholder for who is asking this question, the user, the business stakeholder, what is their role in that business? And the second thing is, what is their deep research analysis use case? And the reason is here. Why? Because if a business leader from customer success is trying to do deep research on, let's say, financial KPIs, that context, that deep research analysis and relevance for the stakeholder is different from if someone in the sales organization or the CEO is doing the exact same deep research analysis. So given the stakeholder and the use case of analysis, it's that context would be important for this deep research evaluator, LLM or agent to evaluate and build the right evaluation sets. Now, there are two ways to do it. I think obviously you can start at an enterprise with just a basic set of evaluation set and extract the stakeholder and deep research analysis use case and have like a more static way for extracting the initial evaluation set. Or you could do something called directed acyclic graphs. You can use DAGs to essentially dynamically categorize from user queries the stakeholder and deep research pairs. So, up until now, we have understood the business objective and then from the user query, extracted the stakeholder and deep research analysis use case pair. Now, next step is to also integrate with the IAM, Identity and Access Management System of the enterprise, to understand the permissions that the stakeholder who's asking this question has. And this is important, especially if you want to build a super secure enterprise deep research analysis tool and you want to understand the evaluation of the security of exactly what is needed by the stakeholder. Permission awareness in your evaluation would make the eval a lot more deterministic, especially for the areas there like relevance, etc., that is harder to evaluate in its entirety and is more subjective. So if you have some permission awareness context, you're basically allowing this your agent or your AI solution who is evaluating your deep research analysis results to truly have a lot more context before it starts developing your evaluation sets. Once you have that additional context of permissions that the stakeholder has, then we pick from existing database of an initial evaluation set for a baseline metric evaluation. So for the first time you run an evaluation, you require a baseline eval set. You want some sort of a, some people call it golden set, that you start with. Work with your product managers, happy to support and help your enterprise build those initial evaluation sets, if you'd like to connect with me for that. Once you've established that baseline metric evaluation or the baseline eval, the next step onwards is more on an ongoing basis. This is important because, especially for enterprise use cases, there are edge cases that are constantly surfaced as users use your product more. So, on an ongoing basis, you want to perform continuous evaluation. And you do so by building an adversarial loop with another LLM generating synthetic data, the context that we've just extracted from all these three levels: on business objective, on stakeholder and analysis use case, and the permissions. All of this context is helpful in in giving this adversarial LLM good information on what types of adversarial synthetic data should it generate. And this is a more cutting edge innovation these days, where this adversarial LLM basically creates more synthetic data specific to this use case and stakeholder evaluation, and constantly and feeds it to the candidate agent to allow for automatic discovery and patching of weaknesses. And once you're, done with the continuous evaluation, obviously this is an oversimplified way of of mentioning continuous evaluation. Agent Force by Salesforce has solid solutions for continuous evaluations that you should definitely go and check out. But what you really want to make sure you do if you're establishing a CE, continuous evaluation pipeline, is to also have monitoring and observability. And tracing cost and performance is extremely important. Otherwise, you're going to run into really expensive LLM calls and agentic prototypes, just like McKinsey recently released. 95% of AI agent prototypes in enterprises are actually not being used and not creating any impact. Let's change that by creating continuous evaluation, which is monitored and observed for performance and cost at each level of the agent, and we do it through attribution. In summary, what we discussed today was, how do we build evaluation sets dynamically using an agentic approach. We started with the business objective, understanding the context of business objective of that enterprise, extracting the from each user query, extracting the stakeholder and analysis use case context, extracting the permission awareness context from the identity and access management systems of the enterprise. And with all of this context, really building initial and continuous evaluation sets that has a lot more awareness using artificial intelligence. And for continuous evaluation, we also discussed adversarial LLM that can help you create synthetic data for anomalous um, use cases you want to test for your agent as well. So overall, I hope this was helpful. If you'd like to reach out to me, let me know. You can ping me on LinkedIn or reach out to me at innovations.arz@gmail.com. If your enterprise requires any evaluation help in strategizing or building the entire set of agents on Agent Force, I'd be happy to help. This is Arunama Sharma, and I hope you enjoyed this about evaluations.